Hey everybody, it is the time. Let's get started. Welcome to the Chorus Communications Summer School Lunch and Learn webinar series. I am your summer school host, Jamie Scott Okataya, CEO of JSA, and it has been a true honor to be spending our summer together these past 7 weeks for these 1-hour webinar sessions. We have a few folks to thank before we begin. First and foremost, of course, Chorus Communications for putting together another fantastic creative way to get more channel education to the marketplace. Thank you, Chorus. And thanks also to our webinar partner, eEngage. Because of their registration platform, every week we've been able to enjoy a lunch of our choice arriving to our door so we can chow down while learning all during our lunch hour. And of course, thanks to our presenters, we started in July with AT&T and Vonage, and then this month with Flexential, Rapid Scale, Fuse, and Comcast. And today, rounding out that amazing list of presenting companies, we have 365 data centers. And thanks to Chorus and our presenters, we are able to provide a little extra bonus if you attended all 7 webinars. So congrats to those who have completed the course entirely. Your Chorus channel manager will be getting back to you directly if you've qualified. So a little friendly reminder here, as you join in, make sure you're muted for the overall great audio quality for everybody. So I'll try to catch you as you come on, but just in case, you can mute and unmute yourself. All right. Thank you again to Chorus and our presenters, and congrats for those folks who have attended all 7 webinars. Also, weekly we've been doing a drawing for a $100 gift certificate for those who have pre-submitted questions for our presenting companies, and we have had a couple of folks who did so, so there will be a drawing at the conclusion of this webinar, so stay tuned for that. We have a winner to announce. And hey, we want to hear from you. There is a chat box at the bottom of the Zoom. If you zoom down, scroll over, there's a chat icon that will appear. Go ahead and, as Jim is talking to us today about 365, you have a question, go ahead and type it in. We'll try to save some room at the end of his presentation to address those questions for you. So we want to hear from you. Go ahead and type it in. Okay, so let's get started. Our presenter, Jim Grady, Senior Director of Business Development for 365 Data Center. Jim, welcome.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you very much. And thanks to Chorus for arranging all of this and inviting me. I'm kind of a last-minute pinch hitter for someone else on our team who was unable to make it today, but excited for the opportunity and looking forward to talking about 365, answering any questions you guys may have, and seeing how we can help you guys do more business.
We are honored to have you here. 365, a great logo, one that is on the rise for sure every day. There's more news coming across the wires about you. So tell us a little bit, Jim, about your role there at 365.
Sure. So I am the channel manager for the Northeast. It is a relatively new role for me. I've been with 365 for 3+ years, but we have now really recently focused on channel. And we have a new vice president of sales and marketing, a gentleman by the name of Tony Franchi, who brings a ton of channel experience. And his goal is really to shift us from being a direct sales organization to being a channel-focused organization. And so that's one of the reasons why we are here and focusing on events like this and working with Chorus is our whole goal is to grow the channel. And so that's why we're doing these things. And again, so Tony brings a ton of experience. I don't have as much experience in the channel, but I do know 365 pretty well, having been here for 3 years.
Yeah, for sure. And with that shift, that focus on the channel, what are the key differentiators for 365's channel partner program?
Sure. So we're focusing on aligning ourselves with the top master agents in the industry out there, such as Chorus. One of the things we're doing is we're offering co-marketing dollars and opportunities and sponsoring events for the folks who can bring us $50,000 a month in revenue. And so we're going out there, we're sponsoring events and joining to get our name out there and spending some money, right? That's the whole goal is to help you guys and help the agents and help our partners get more recognition out there. And so we're trying to put skin in the game there. And the other thing we're doing is, we get a fair amount of leads that come in inbound that are not necessarily, or inbound or just through prospecting that aren't tied to agents. And in the past, we would just kind of focus on closing them. Now we're working on handing those off, or trying to align them with one of our partners going forward, so that they become part of the channel going forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. That makes sense too. More skin in the game, the more marketing capabilities, the more that channel can grow, and everyone makes out together. So I love this. What client verticals does your company successfully target? Who are your core clients?
Sure. So historically, we were a carrier hotel in a lot of our markets. We were the carrier hotel in markets like Buffalo, Nashville, Tampa, in Indy, and Detroit. We were carrier hotels, and so we've always been very strong in the carrier business. We have upwards of 25 to 30 carriers in some of our hotels. So if you have folks that are looking to interconnect with carriers, you're not going to find a more connected data center than our sites. But as we've branched out of the carrier business, some of the verticals we really focused on are, the IT services, working with managed services companies, integrators, MSPs who are offering services, and will co-locate their gear in our facilities. Very strong in the health vertical, as well as education. We have online universities, we have colleges with their local presence in our data centers. And financial as well. We just signed up I think it's the third largest financial services provider that took a big footprint with us in in Philadelphia and Nashville, and bought the transport from us to connect those two. So those are the verticals I guess we're probably strongest in.
Yeah. And you mentioned Nashville. I had a chance to walk by your facility there. It's amazing. And you mentioned, of course, Philly, where our Chorus family is located. Are there other particular regions that your company's products and services really cater to?
So we used to be nationwide in our footprint, but about a year ago, we went through a private equity change out, and as part of the ownership change, the new owners wanted to focus on everything east as far as data centers go. I'll show the map, and we have a footprint all over the country as far as network, but for data centers, our focus is East Coast. So we are Chicago, as the little map shows, Chicago, Indy, Detroit, Buffalo, New York, Philly, Nashville, and then 3 in Florida, with Tampa, Boca Raton, and Fort Lauderdale. And that's our focus. We're going to keep adding the data centers and service providers. Actually, after we were bought, they bought a company called Host.net and added them into our portfolio. And I know that our board is actually actively pursuing a couple more M&A acquisitions. So we're going to keep looking to add data centers, probably more than grow natively in new markets, but we'll look to add and grow. And again, I think we're going to be East Coast. And I think we're probably more focused on tier 2 markets, because that's where our strength is. We're not looking to be the 15th, or actually like the 25th data center in Northern Virginia, or the 30th in Dallas, right? We are, in the markets where we focus on, we are a differentiator and a key provider in those markets.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk there on those tier 2 markets, getting to the edge for the clients. And yes, with that Host.net acquisition, you really push right into Florida and beautifully, and I'm excited to hear about some additional acquisitions coming soon. So
you and me both.
So I'm a client, I'm coming to you, I want to sign up for 365 services. How long does a typical client remain engaged to you? I'm sure with that data center model, there's a certain level of stickiness to it. What's your traditional client engagement? 3 months, 1 year, 5 years?
Yeah, data centers are really typically very sticky, right? Our contracts are typically 36 months, and some longer. And we do, if there are some customers who are just they're putting their toe in, and they're concerned about a commitment of over 12 months, and they do 12 months. But even those customers are here, for years and years, right? Once you're in a data center, typically you're not leaving. And again, we have customers that have been here for 15 years. And then so typical contract is 36 months. Some are, we will go down to 12 months. I don't think we really go anything shorter than that. We do some temporary stuff as we get away from colo and some more managed services that might be more short-term in nature, whether it's IP services or transit or transport that's just on net, and we can do a shorter term. But if it's involving colocation, at least 12 months, most likely 36 months. And again, most of our customers stay much longer than that.
Yeah, there's a beautiful stickiness in colo for sure. And how long does it take to sell them? What's a typical sales cycle like, the average time to get a prospect in the door?
So the deals that we are successful on, typically we see are 30 to 45 days, right? If things go beyond that, it's customers, maybe they came to us before they're ready and they're kicking the tire, and so we have some of those that are longer term, where folks 6 months out are looking for pricing and trying to get budgetary approval. But I see that most of our successful engagements are under 45 days. Other than, we do a lot of deals with the big content providers, the Googles and Facebooks and Netflix and Amazons. And those guys obviously think more long term. And so when they come to us, they are probably planning for next year. So those engagements can be, 12 months because they're planning that stuff out. But typically with our small to medium sized businesses and our enterprises, by the time we get engaged on something, it's, on 45 days to get something closed. We're pretty agile. We don't have really lengthy contract terms. We're pretty flexible on those fronts. So we don't spend a lot of time worrying about, negotiating contracts. We get stuff in, folks want to sign a deal, we get them in, and we get them turned up, and paperwork doesn't typically hold us up a whole lot.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And one last question, and then I promise I'll let you begin your presentation. But looking into that crystal ball of yours, what is that top trend or service that 365 is going to leverage in the next 12 months or so?
I think the segment of the market we're most interested in right now is this hybrid cloud, and that's where we are making investments. I'll touch on it in our presentation. I can't announce anything because I don't have the availability date yet, but we are in the process of adding a new platform, which is this hybrid cloud platform, software defined, where it will use a combination with a single pane of glass. Customers can get access to both our private cloud as well as the big hyperscale cloud providers, Amazon and Azure and Google, all through one platform. And that's what we're excited about. I think there is maybe one other data center company out there today that has this platform, and they're killing it with it. And that's what we're excited about. And hopefully we're going to be able to make an announcement within the next 90 days, and really that becomes our our product of the future, because that's where I see everything going these days. It's all everyone wants to have cloud as part of their design, and we deal with a lot of folks that dealt with Amazon or Azure and have found that they don't want to deal with it anymore. It's too complicated, it's too expensive, they can't get support, etc. But they feel that there is a need for it to maintain a piece of it, and so they want to come back to like a hybrid cloud where it's our cloud for one piece of it and maintain a link to those other guys.
Amazing. Love this. Thank you, Jim, for your insight. I'm going to go ahead and turn those controls over to you. And before I do, quick reminder to our viewers, our participants on the webinar, we want to hear from you. So as Jim is talking and reviewing his slide deck, please go ahead and type your question in that chat box. We will reserve some time to hopefully get to all those questions at the end of the webinar. And worst case, if we do run out of time, we'll try to get back to you via email after this. So we want to hear from you. Go ahead and type those questions in. Jim, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Jamie. So just I didn't note before on the map, the little star up in the corner is Norwalk, Connecticut. That is our new headquarters. We recently moved from San Francisco as part of the last acquisition. We have new management that came on and moved our headquarters to Norwalk, and that's where I'm based out of. We don't have a data center there, and nothing that I'm aware of in the near future, but that is where our senior management is. That's where I'm based out of, and that's where my boss, Tony Franke, is also based. And we do expect to have more data centers, more dots on this map in the near future. So just to touch on kind of some of the highlights of who we are, right? We are a full service provider, co-location, cloud, and network services in 10 data center markets, which represents 10 of the top 30 market areas around the country. Again, I think our focus is really tier 2 markets, although we do have data centers in New York and Chicago, which clearly are not tier 2 markets, but those are kind of niche for us. These are in some markets, Boca, it's like a multi-site solution. We have multiple facilities. These are state-of-the-art data centers. They are fully redundant, and in terms of power, cooling, and connectivity. We have, as I touched on before, a platform that we deliver backup as a service, availability as a service, DR, private cloud, and we have the expertise to deliver those services and help our clients understand what they need and how to price it out and how to implement it and how to support them on an ongoing basis. we have, as I haven't shown you the map, but we do have a national backbone. So as we acquired Host.net, we acquired a backbone. A year ago, we were simply 8 data centers operating as islands, but now we have a backbone connecting kind of the 30 top markets around the U.S. We offer our own IP services. We hit most major data centers around the country, and we offer diverse north-south routes, east-west routes, and can offer transit and transport to most major folks. We have hundreds of endpoints off of that because we support customers both in and out of our data centers. We have, again, a team of senior executives. Our new CEO, Bob DeSantis, has a wide range of telecom experiences. Most recently, he was at Xand and sold his business to TierPoint. Stuck around at TierPoint as a number of years as the chief operating officer. So he's got a lot of experience in the colo business. And then our executives, Tony Franke, my boss, came directly from CenturyLink. I've got 20 plus years experience across the industry, from MCI to IBM to Windstar to Internap to Yipes Reliance to some smaller cloud companies. So we have a wide variety of experience and across the various segments of the market. One thing we're extremely proud of is that we have not had an outage across our facilities. We go on generator plenty of times as is necessary, but we have 100% uptime for our data center services to our clients, and that goes back to how long we've been here. A number of our sites have been in place since early 2000s because they were bought or they were built by a company called Switch and Data. And Switch and Data was sold to a company called Equinix, which most people are probably familiar with. And Equinix did that in 2009. And then 2012, they spun out a number of sites that didn't fit with their portfolio, which became 365 data centers. So our name has only been around for 4+ years, or actually, I guess 2012, 6 years. But the data centers have been here much longer and have a real strong operating record. So touch on our core product, and I guess if I were to rethink this now, probably wouldn't necessarily lead with co-location, because while it's in our name, we are 365 data centers. We're really focused on becoming and being a managed services provider, of which co-location is one of the services. But we're still, we still by nature lead with co-location. I mentioned the tier 2 markets. The list is there. Right. Again, the companies that we acquired with Host.net added Boca Raton and Fort Lauderdale, but our other core markets: New York, Buffalo, Philly, Chicago, Detroit, Indy, Nashville, and Tampa. I guess one thing I didn't mention, all of our sites are fully compliant, and we're certified across all of our portfolio. All of the sites carry the same compliances, so we're HIPAA compliant, we're PCI. We're SOC 2, we're SSAE 16, and we're ISAE 3402 in all of our facilities. And that's those are the main data center compliance requirements. We also offer, we also have a lot of certifications in our cloud platform, which I'm not as expert on, but we offer a whole lot of compliance and certifications, and these are the key data center ones. Just to kind of wrap up on co-location. So as our core product, we offer it's really a custom solution. Right? We offer everything from customers who want a compact cabinet, which is a third of a rack, and some markets we have a quarter of a rack, up to private suites. Most of our facilities, other than one, I believe, are raised floor. And so a couple pictures there. I'm not sure which facilities those are. One of them might be Nashville on the left and Buffalo on the right. They all look very same look and feel on the inside. But again, so space and power goes everything from a compact cabinet up to a full suite. We offer AC and DC power. Because we had the carriers in our space, we have to have DC power plant, and so we find folks are very interested in that, and because not everybody has DC power. Variety of services, AC, from 120 up to 208, and single phase up through 3-phase. And the amperage is we can go again as small as 15 amps up to 60 amps, and again 3-phase as well. And we offer single and redundant power. Some customers just want a single power circuit because their gear isn't built for redundancy. Other folks, whose boxes come in with dual power sources and want to have full redundancy on the power, we offer that as well. Our bread and butter is cross connects. We have all the carriers in our space, so everybody needs cross connects to our carriers. We offer Ethernet and fiber, single mode and multi-mode fiber cross connects. Also, coax on occasion. A lot of that's kind of legacy stuff. We don't see a lot of that these days. Same as POTS. A few of those out there. The LECs are all in our space, so we can't offer POTS lines. Although I got to say that's not a big demand these days. And for folks who are looking to who buy cross connect in bulk, right? Some folks come in, they just need 1 or 2, and that's fine. We have others who are carriers particularly, and others who are buying 6, 10, 12 cross connects to connect with various folks. We offer bundles, to save money on cross connects. And then lastly, on the internet side, we offer managed services. We offer IP. It's our own backbone, as I mentioned, the host.net backbone. So we offer IP services anywhere from a meg up to 10 gigs. And again, that's our own service. I believe in most of the markets we'll offer it, fully redundant service. We can give you two handoffs on diverse gear. That's not available quite yet everywhere, but we're working on that. We do have remote hands. Our sites are staffed. They're staffed by our own folks from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They're monitored 24/7, and our staff is available for call-outs off hours. So again, we're actually evaluating for certain opportunities adding 24/7 on-site support at certain sites. So that's our next thing that we're probably adding to our portfolio, is having 24/7 on-site. But we can handle everything from power reboots to, hey, I need you guys to rebuild my rack for me, redo the cabling, swap out disk drives, etc. So we offer a full range of on-site support. And then the last thing is, at a number of our sites, we have the IXs. IX Internet Exchanges are actually hosted in our facility. We have we have connectivity to the Florida Internet Exchange in our South Florida. We actually one of the folks who owned and started that. We have the Tampa Internet Exchange in Tampa. We have the Nash IX in Nashville. We have the Midwest IX in Indianapolis. We have a deal in place with the Detroit IX in Detroit. And then we're looking at additional IXs in both Buffalo, New York, and Chicago. We think that makes it more of a community, and folks who internet IX folks love to have IX connectivity, Internet Exchange connectivity. So I'll just touch on again. I mentioned we have a network. So again, we have a low latency, fully redundant North American network. I'll show you the map in a second. But we have north-south, east-west routes. So again, room for failover. 17 major peering points with over 300 network peers in those locations, including Azure and AWS. So we can provide connectivity to those clouds. And again, multiple carrier connections, right? Over 60 carriers throughout the facilities, and so we can offer. Basically, you need to connect anyone. We can offer that. Our network is monitored 24/7 out of our NOC in Boca Raton. And when we have maintenances, obviously we let our customers know on network maintenances going on. If it's within our power to control something, we can take feedback from customers. Sometimes it's a carrier that's doing maintenance, and we just let folks know as a courtesy we can't change it if they have an issue. So there's the map. Again, it touches on the data centers. The yellow is where we have our actual data centers. The blue is the points of presence where we in other data centers in our map. The red represents those public peering points, the 17 that I mentioned. And our cloud today sits the 3 dots, right? We have it in Boca Raton and Fort Lauderdale. It currently sits in Atlanta as of this map printing, but I believe it's actually in the process of moving to Nashville. And so we have it's redundantly or geographically diverse, and we're in the process of adding another redundant POP to it up north. Although we know that while it is southern focused, we have ambulance companies in New Jersey that utilize our cloud services. So there, we know that it's low latency, high availability services. It's literally a matter of life or death. If there's lag on their cloud connectivity, and so we know that there's plenty of high performance availability there. But we are looking to migrate a node of it up north so that there's more direct connectivity in the Northeast network. Again, just a list of the POPs. So again, I hit on the fact that we are in all of our data centers, but now we also, we're not unique to 365, right? We hit Equinix, big competitor, Digital Realty, CoreSite, so we try to be in all of the major data centers and can provide any-to-any connectivity. So we're not focused, on as it goes to network services and transit and transport, all those things, we're not limited to our own footprint. And that list is growing. And again, these are just the major ones. We have over 300 POPs on the network, including multiple customer sites and on-net buildings. I touched on the cloud, and that's a differentiator for us. When we acquired Host.net, we acquired their cloud platform, and that's again available today in Boca Raton and Atlanta/Nashville, and it's more traditional cloud. We've had it for a number of years. I think we have 300 customers on our platform. We've actually just in the process of updating it, and adding more storage and compute capacity to it, so that it will keep our growth for the more traditional cloud model for a number of years to come. And this allows us to work with customers who are looking for cloud storage, or they want cloud compute, they want desktop VMs. We can offer a variety of cloud services, and again in geographically diverse markets, and again and adding more to that. But we can add the combination of folks who want to have their data center, their network, or their gear in their location or our data center, and backed up to our cloud. That's a great solution. We have a lot of folks who want that. And again, we have 24/7 support out of Boca that monitors our cloud, and we have a great team down there that is always watching and always working with our team. And again, we have the pre-sales support. So if you have a client that is interested in cloud, doesn't really know what they want, just knows they want to know about cloud. Maybe they need availability. They've heard about backup as a service. They've heard of remote desktops. They've heard a lot of these things, and they want to talk to us about it. We have experts in-house who can get on the phone to talk about all of our capabilities. Unfortunately, I am not that expert to talk about all of our cloud capabilities, but I can talk in general terms. And again, we have the resources lined up to get into more detail on what we can offer for our clients. In addition to the cloud, when we acquired Host.net, we acquired the platform for backup as a service and DR as a service. Again, this was we acquired hundreds of customers that Host.net had worked with to offer these two services. Historically, they had used Zerto as their backup as a service platform provider, as well as eVault for their DR providing and for backup to the cloud. We actually have just recently announced a brand new that we're a silver partner with Veeam, and so now we're in the process of taking a lot of our old stuff and migrating it from eVault over to Veeam, and we're just getting started with the Veeam cloud services, and we're going out and that's kind of another focus for us in the coming months, is to really get more familiar and make sure all of our customers are aware of these platforms. Right, these are two of the industry best, top of the line solutions for backup and DR, and we're excited about it. Myself, coming from the 365 side of the house, this is really more new to me, and we're getting used to it. But this is what really was bread and butter for Host, and what folks are really looking for. So just to touch on a couple of differentiators for us, right? So I think one of the key things is that we own and operate everything from end to end, right? So our data center, our network, our services, our NOC, we operate and manage it, so we can deliver a higher level of service and support from end to end, right? And that means one invoice, one customer, again, someone watching the network from end to end. So one phone, one throat to choke, or one person to call if you have any issues. And I think that's what helps us. As there's no one out there in this space that has the data center footprint, backbone footprint, and then again cloud and managed services that we have in the markets that we're in. Obviously, there are bigger folks in some of the tier one markets that do some of these things. But if you're looking in the markets where we specialize, which is again where our data centers are, the Buffaloes, the Nashvilles, the Tampas of the world, there's no one that can offer you the end-to-end support solutions that we can. And it really comes down to the people, right? When we acquired Host, we acquired 100 key engineer, front office, back office folks who again can help with the customer with the selling, and then design the solution, as well as implementation and help them with troubleshooting and all that on the solution side. And I think that's one of the values that we can bring is the team of people and our ability to work with you guys, with your clients and you guys, seamlessly on design and implementation. Just the logo slide of a few of the names that we work with. Again, we could fill it up with every network provider that you guys, if anyone has ever heard of. They're all probably our customers today. And some of the big content providers, Facebook, Google, Netflix, those are our clients, as well as other big content folks. And then just some of the other, again, we're growing in the enterprise and SMB space, but some of those are familiar names between Coldwell Banker and John Hancock. And some of those came out of our host.net. Some of them are legacy 365 clients. And this is where we're really looking to grow our base, right? We've been very strong in the carrier space. We're looking to take that strength and replicate the host.net success in penetrating the SMB and enterprise market and taking that nationwide. So I touched on, and I can't get into a whole lot more detail, but the private cloud, that's our next step, right? Is the private cloud where a single pane of glass can give our customers an ability to provision connectivity to both our private cloud as well as the main public clouds, and that's where we're really excited about, and that's our next step, and that's where we see the convergence going, and I'm hoping that in the next, again, 30 days, we have an ability to make an announcement and start rolling that out nationwide, which will actually put our cloud in every one of our data centers. So it's not just down south, but it will be everywhere. And so that's something we're excited about, and I'm looking forward to hearing more in the coming weeks. But Jamie, I think that's my last slide.
Awesome job, of course, Jim, and I appreciate your time and insight there. And we have had some folks dial in and type in those questions in our chat box. So I'll just start right from the top and go on down if that works for everybody. So first and foremost, thank you to those who have pre-submitted questions. We appreciate that. Paul Spencer, you asked a great question about backup as a service, a recently announced partnership, as Jim mentioned, that gold partner level with VM. We will get back to you with an answer to that specific question from one of our backup as a service specialists. So more coming there. And that brings us to Anthony's question. I would like to know if they offer an advanced endpoint protection and if you guys have a VDI play. Jim?
Sure. I forgot to mention that, right? That's part of our solution offering is we do have managed security. We offer a managed firewall. Today we offer it through Fortinet, and we're in the process of talking to other providers to add more security layers on top of that. So it's a managed firewall that we offer again through our cloud platform. Is also, again, for folks who want to co-locate, we can offer physical firewalls. But so it's through Fortinet today, and we're looking to layer more on top of that for the security. And again, we work with third-party vendors to manage that end-to-end for our clients. And then VDI, we do have a desktop service. Again, through our cloud, we do offer virtual desktops. We don't manage the application layer. We offer the desktop. So if it's the client that wants to manage it themselves, we offer those solutions. If they need a managed desktop and want to go beyond just having us provide the platform, we would partner for that. But we can offer it today by ourselves, and if they want something more, let's say higher up the value chain or higher up the stack, we partner for that solution.
And then Anthony also had a second question, most recently to you guys. Are you GDPR compliant? I know your footprint, mostly East Coast, but I'm sure there's a lot of international players, carriers in your space. Have you guys had any GDPR compliancy that you've been working on in-house?
I will acknowledge that is a term I am not familiar with, and so I have to look it up and see. I don't know offhand. It's not a term I'm familiar with ultimately.
I will mention that your emails are.
Yes.
All right, so we'll get back to you further, Anthony, with that answer. All right, so let's get to Nick Iagovino. You mentioned an exclusive East Coast focus, Jim. What's the reason behind that decision? Oh, good question.
It was when the CEO came on board. The new money that came on board about a year ago. It was a kind of a three-armed venture private equity group, three different groups, and they decided that they wanted to focus on Chicago and East. So we actually sold off a number of sites. We had 17 sites when this process started. A little over a year ago, and as part of the process, the new group bought the sites that were 8 sites that were east. They sold off the sites that were west of Chicago. We even sold we sold a couple of sites that were east of Chicago, but through the process we got offers we couldn't refuse, and they turned them, they sold those 2 sites to DataBank, to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and we sold Neutrality to St. Louis to Neutrality. Sites I wish we had maintained, but again, I don't make those decisions. That's above my pay grade. But ultimately, they focused on being, East Coast. They want to be, again, our headquarters is Norwalk, and I guess we wanted to focus on Chicago East.
Yeah, and you certainly have so much leverage with that keen focus. Just knowing disaster recovery with Florida storms, you guys have such a wonderful track record of really digging in locally and protecting those networks. So it was an interesting move, and one that you can, we already see the fruits of your labor. So.
And I think part of it also was the West Coast markets that we had were tier 1 markets: St. Louis, San Jose. Those are markets where, as a company, we're one of just many, right? And so I think they focused on. We really want to focus on the tier 2 piece. We kept Chicago and Detroit because they're niche, but our focus is really the tier 2 markets as part of the edge strategy. Right. That's you touched on it, right? Edge. That's been our growth. That's why we have content providers like Facebook and Netflix and Amazon and Google. It's all part of the edge, right? So they have their big data centers in various places with a couple of megawatts worth of power. Then they come to us and they get a couple of cabinets, or upwards of 10 to 15 cabinets with us to be their edge strategy, and they'll come to us with multiple sites. And so. Our focus is to be the provider in those edge markets, and a lot of those tier 2 markets are east or more eastern than western. Although there are some western that I would love to be in, like Minnesota and a couple of those other markets.
And then the next questions come from our own Rob, and I think I just unmuted you, Rob. Let me know if you wanted to. You had 2 great questions, sort of. Spanning the concept of technology, really, the spectrum, everything from blockchain to good old POTS. So thought you'd weigh in yourself there.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. I think, the POTS stuff was, Jim mentioned it, and if you guys are kind of throwing that away, we certainly have a place to put that. So that's more of a kind of some insight there versus a question.
Sure.
I asked a question about the blockchain because, quite frankly, we're involved with it. Certainly, Dan and I and Chorus, we are vested in some of that technology. As scary as some people think it is, however, I see it kind of creeping in to some of the data center space. I mean, what do you know? I'm just curious about what your position is on it, because it's certainly grabbing a lot of attention, good, bad, or indifferent these days.
Yeah, so here's where I think this comes in, and some of it comes into the blockchain providers, right? A lot of and blockchain it's a lot of they're looking for a lot of high density compute power, a lot of high density power, and those folks who are looking to be blockchain providers are typically looking in the tier 1 markets where there is more space, power, higher density builds than we have the capability for, right? Where our sites are 20 years old, we target anywhere from 2K to 10 kW per cabinet, and blockchain, a lot of these guys, right? The compute power they're looking for requires a power density greater than we're looking to do. So we're not necessarily playing in the first tier of these blockchain deployments. Our goal is, they would be a customer, right? We're not looking to get into it ourselves or deploy our own infrastructure. We would love to support blockchain companies, but right now they're focused, I think, primarily on the Chicagos, the Virginias, the Dallases of the world, where there is more power density, than we're typically going to provide. I think the second round of that stuff is when they look at an edge strategy, we'll be working with those folks.
So Jim, actually, I'm glad you answered it that way, because a lot of the other data centers that we've been talking to said the same thing. It's like, look, and a lot of I guess the way they finesse their interaction with the blockchain companies or the cryptocurrencies is like they'll get like 6 months in advance or a year in advance payment for power, right? And
I can talk to you. That's a different topic, Lily. I mean, so the crypto folks, right? I see blockchain blockchain is the next generation, right? And I think that's a real legitimate, no one really knows where that's going, and that's got a lot of legitimate purposes, right? The crypto providers, for a time when Bitcoin was 20,000 whatever, I was getting calls from Bitcoin miners twice a day, for us as a data center provider, we were not a good fit for them, right? Because all they want is access to cheap power. It doesn't fit our model. Right? Our sites are not built for that. They want really, really cheap power, and they're not. A lot of these guys are not great customers as a colo provider because their whole model was they would put these bit mining boxes in, they'd run them hot for as long as they can, and then once the box burns out, that box is dead to them. And there's a number of stories of Bitcoin miners, who are not necessarily the IBMs of the world, right? They're kind of fly-by-night companies who go up and establish. So there's, they stiff companies, data center companies with just big power bills that they don't pay because they've leveraged their gear, they've gotten their Bitcoins out of it, and then their gear is dead, and they move on. And we don't want to be in the business of owning Bitcoin boxes, right? For a company that doesn't want to pay its bills.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thanks, Jim.
Great
Sure.
insight. And that sort of leads us into to Nick's question. Nick Igovino, I just like saying his last name. As an Italian American myself. How much space and power do you have available in Philly today, our hotspot here?
Sure. I am not the Philly rep. I can find out. I believe we probably have. We're building out our new suite there, so we have our main space is getting relatively full, but we have a new suite that we're building that's connected. I think it's probably going to be about a half a megawatt of power and space for about 200 cabinets, 200, 250. That's what I believe is our, we have space today for cabinets, individual here and there, but if we're talking about a big footprint, I think our next stage is being built, and that's about, again, a half to 3/4 of a megawatt of power. And again, I think room for 150 cabinets, I think, is the plan.
All right. So space available, yes, but for bigger stuff, we're building more. Love it.
Yeah, and we're not, and that's I should have touched on that. We are not a wholesale provider. Right? We're not Equinix or DRT or CoreSite or some of those guys who want to go out and they're selling a megawatt of power and 200 cabinet solutions. We do have some big customers, but most of them are, our typical customers are 2 cabinets to 20 cabinets. That's kind of our typical install, and our power per site is a megawatt. Right, typically, as we expand, we'll add more. But so we're not the ones out there competing on the real wholesale markets. We're typically going down market to anywhere from a cabinet up to 10 to 15 cabinets. But our typical customer is 2 cabinets and 10 to 20 kW. That's kind of more typical of what we're seeing.
Great. And changing gears here, Grace just tapped in a question. Do you see Iron Mountain as compensation?
As competition, we do actually. I mean, they.
Yes,
I actually lost a deal to Iron Mountain someone else in my group lost a deal to Iron Mountain not that long ago. It all depends on what the customer wanted, but they were in Erie and they wanted a local data center, and they were looking at us in Buffalo, and they ended up going with Iron Mountain. It's a different solution. They don't have the carrier mix, but Iron Mountain is a cool site, and I would love to be a customer just to be able to go into their mine and see that. But they are a competitor for upstate New York. We lost a deal to them again, but they were actually my customer in Pittsburgh when we owned the Pittsburgh site. I did a deal with Iron Mountain where they used us as an entry point to their mine because we had all the carriers, and they don't have a lot of carriers in their data center. So they're a customer and a competitor.
And I love that about, particularly in the tier 2 markets for data center colo space. A lot of our, competitors are also clients and partners. So
it happens, all the time. I have a lot of our competitors, because of our carrier richness, right? If they go into another data center in those markets, may have 1 or 2 carriers, right? And someone wants a certain carrier, so it's a fine line between enabling our competition versus taking money to help. It's a fine line we walk on that. But a lot of our competitors have a presence in our data center one way or another.
Yeah, co-opetition.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions from our participants here? Go ahead and furiously type away. This has been such a wonderful, interactive webinar. Really appreciate all these great questions. All right, so perhaps we move on to announcing winners. That's always a fun part. So I'll check back on the board to see if there's any last questions. But quick, let's get to the fun stuff. We have had some folks who have pre-submitted questions for 365 before this webinar. So we entered their names into a drawing for that $100 gift certificate. And the winner for this week is Paul Spencer. So congrats, Paul. Your Chorus channel manager will get back to you. So congrats, Paul. And also,
I couldn't answer his question, but he won the money.
Right, exactly. And we will get back to you with that very techie question from the experts at 365 on the technical side of the house. But wonderful job, and we appreciate your input early on. And we also have big winners today, those who received that great bonus for attending all 7 webinars. If you qualify, you will be reached out, you will be contacted by your Chorus channel manager. So, so big stuff there. That great bonus for attending all 7 webinars. Your Chorus channel manager will be reaching out to you if you qualify. So congrats to those who invested their summer hours to learning more about these great presenting companies like 365. Okay, let me just double check any other questions on the board. And Anthony, thanks to everyone. This has been a nice mix of technology and sales skills. Oh, appreciate this. Also a thanks to our partner, Eat Engage. And if you were happy with your lunch, which I think was such a wonderful, fun, interactive element also to this, go ahead and contact your Chorus channel manager, because you might want to use this registration and lunch ordering system for your next lunchtime prospect meeting. I know I'd show up if you offered me food to a webinar. So go ahead and reach out to your Chorus channel manager if you want to Eat Engage as well. And of course, for finally, big kudos here. Thanks to Chorus Communications, Rob, Buffy, Amy, team, always amazing. So I know Anthony had given his kudos in the chat room. And it's just one of many hearts here that really appreciate all the hard work and education you provide us. So thank you. And thanks to everyone for joining. Thank you, Jim. Amazing insight. And again, 365 Data Centers, a company to watch. Thanks all for joining and participating in the Chorus Summer School Lunch and Learn. I'm your summer school host, Jamie Scott Okataya. It's been a pleasure spending the summer with you. Happy networking. Bye, all.
Thanks, everybody.